Hello, all you positive heads out there. It's so good to be back with all you beautiful reflections of the one source consciousness that creates and animates all things. If you're new to this podcast, of course, we're super happy to have you here. And if you've been listening and enjoying for a while, I would be super grateful if you would please take a moment to give us a review on Apple Podcasts. It's one of the best and simplest ways to pay it forward and help others find the show so that they too can tap into the powerful perspectives and positive vibrations we are collectively emanating. The other unique and magical way to share this show is by sending any friends you think would benefit from listening to this podcast our Game with the Universe link at positivehead.com/game. Also listed in the show notes, which will serve them up a quote-unquote random episode when they click it. Just instruct them before clicking the link to close their eyes for a moment and sincerely ask the universe to cue up the episode that contains the insight and perspectives that they most need to hear at this point in their life journey, and then click to listen to whatever episode is synchronistically served up to them. I have heard time and time again from people about the incredible results they received playing the game. So just tell your friends magical results are guaranteed or their karma back. All right, all you positive heads, welcome. Here we go again. It is a Monday here in the studio, a very rainy Monday here in Los Angeles, and glad to be back with you guys, feeling cozy here in the studio as I record. And what am I going to talk about today? Well, speaking of being cozy, what is the opposite of cozy? Uncomfortable. And what is one of the things that makes us the most uncomfortable? Fear, right? And, you guys have heard me talk about destiny cards before. My partner Karen does destiny card readings, which are fascinating. They're based off the 52 playing cards. You've got 4 suits in the deck, 4 seasons, 12 royals, 12 months in the year. If you add up all the cards and the Joker's 1 1/4, it adds up to 365 1/4. So you're actually in 52 weeks in the year. Did I say that? Yeah. So you're 1 in 52 instead of 1 in 12. And it's tied into the planets, and it just goes super, super deep. And I was learning more about my cards, because it's not just like your main card is kind of like your sun sign. I'm a King of Hearts, but my karma card, my first karma card, which is a challenge for me, like a challenging karmic thing. It's a 2 of clubs, which can be using words, the power of words negatively. Agitation, anger, which you probably heard me talk about. These cards are so spot on. And also it's known as the fear card. And a lot of my own processing in life, and times I've done plant medicine like ayahuasca, for example, a lot of fear processing comes up. And it's something that's near and dear to me, because it's like overcoming, and all of us overcoming fears is such a powerful thing. And oh, by the way, if you guys are ever interested in learning more, she's really gone deep with studying under the top person in the world over the last year, and she's now starting to do readings and you can do personal readings, you can do yearly readings. Like I said, it goes super deep. And even relationships. You can take you and your partner, put the cards together, and then kind of look at, how you interact with each other. Like one of you may be, moon to each other, and the other's Uranus to each other. And what is the difference there, and why? So how you experience each other is differently. It's fascinating. So, feel free to reach out, and I can connect you with her if you're interested in getting a reading. Brandon at positivehead.com. And I'll connect you with her. But anyway, what I was getting at with for me learning more, as I've kind of been around for her whole process, this 2 of clubs, our fear card, for me, how do I rewire and rewrite fearful narratives? And a lot of it can come from, just like being hyper creative and imaginative, and intelligence can really it's a double-edged sword, or just like using words, right? They can be used to slice things down, or do the Positive Head podcast and help a lot of people. And so One of the things that I saw recently really stuck out to me. It's come up a few times, this sort of theme. So I thought I would share on today's episode. One, we have a future guest, Dean Hare, Dane here, who you'll hear in a couple of weeks on the Soul Share. Really great conversation with him. But what I talked about with him also played into something I heard Bashar, who is, Daryl Anka, a past guest, who channels the entity Bashar. I've heard him recently talking a bit about fear. And it's tying the two kind of discussions and teachings and ideas together is really, really powerful. So I'm going to just sort of summarize and highlight today some of those thoughts and ideas. Take for a moment this idea of fear. First off, FEAR, forget everything and run, or face everything and rise. And I think that's something that whenever we're facing our fears, I often say if something scares you and it excites you, it's probably for you. So I think for all of us, overcoming fear is a huge, huge part of the human journey, right? And a lot of times, fears that are plaguing you, for example, are generated from something you've been taught, something that you've decided, you've been taught, or for whatever reason you believe is true. Right. And here's the thing, reality, if anything, we've learned at this point is so malleable, and there's so many potentials of what something can be. Look at someone in your life, maybe a lover or friend or something that was the greatest asset, and then, enemy. And it's like, you've all heard me tell the story, my own hero's journey tale with my ex-business partner and one of my best friends who betrayed me. And then I write about it in my book. And the day I print my book, he calls me for the first time in 6 years, and we make amends, and he's on this spiritual journey new path now. And, he's a different person, and it's like playing roles for each other. So I think it's the same with fear and excitement, like kind of two ends of the same, or two sides of the same coin. So first off, understanding if you're feeling a lot of fear around something, it's because you've come to a conclusion. You've been either taught to believe something. A lot of times for some of us, it's been programmed, that comes from deep within us. And of course, that leads to the emotion of fear, energy in motion. But it comes from something you believe or were taught to be true. And when you're holding on to a belief or definition, especially like an unconscious one, let's say it's something you were taught, as a kid, from your mom, that you should be scared of this particular thing. What you can come to the conclusion of, like, hold on, if I'm holding on to a belief or a definition that has me racked in fear. And I don't mean like, here's the bus coming, I need to move out of the way. I'm talking about something that's plaguing you, right? If it's plaguing you, it's out of alignment with your higher self, your expanded self, your true self. And your higher self is the unmoved mover, this eternal, this internal being that is confident and understands everything's happening for me, not to me. And even if it's challenging, I rise to the occasion, and I'm going to learn and grow from it. Right. And so this racked in like unhealthy fear that can be crippling, right? It changes your whole physiology, your nervous system. It makes you not be able to think clearly and make rational decisions, and creates, real dysfunction in a lot of people. And we've all experienced it at different times and in different quantities. And so understanding first and foremost, if you are having a lot of recurring fear, it's out of alignment with your higher self. Your higher self does not navigate in that way, in that fashion. Before we continue on with today's episode, for those of you interested in getting more fantastic fungi in your life, I want to take a quick moment to tell you about a friend of mine's brand new company, The Great Mother. Recently, I have been drinking The Great Mother's superfood mushroom coffee alternative called Ritual, as well as regularly taking their awesome ally microdoses, and I am truly loving both. As you probably know, these days, many of the world's highest achievers and performers swear by microdosing. The problem is it can still be difficult to get a hold of magic mushrooms. That's why when my friend reached out, who lives in an area and country where legalization is not a problem like it was in the past, and said he'd be willing to offer microdoses to my listeners, I wanted to pass the word along. Ally microdoses are 100% organic. And in addition to a small amount of the magic active ingredient, they also contain functional mushrooms like lion's mane, cordyceps, chaga, and other brain boosters like bacopa. Ally is essentially a full spectrum nootropic. And of course, the coffee alternative Ritual doesn't contain magic mushrooms, but it has an array of the best organic functional mushrooms in the world. And, with functional mushrooms, it's really important to get them from the highest integrity sources. And whereas some other highly popular mushroom coffee alternatives on the market only contain a few varieties of functional mushrooms in their actual ingredients, Ritual has 7. Not only does it contain more types, it also contains 3 to 4 times the amount that the big brands have in each serving. And it tastes amazing. I actually like to have it on its own, as well as mixing it into my coffee sometimes as well. However, since this is definitely a unique offering, there are a few steps. First, just reach out and request to follow the private page, thegreat.mother on Instagram. Once you've been accepted to follow, just message what you're interested in getting and someone will get back to you. And it's the resistance or the disconnection from the natural self, the higher self, by you holding on to a belief or story or idea, because emotion doesn't just come out of nowhere, right? It comes from there's a root that then leads to the emotion. So you're holding on to some sort of root, some sort of story. And now, once you understand this, you can start to use fear constructively to reverse engineer the situation initially. Like, okay, I'm noticing this consistent fear. Well, it must come from a story or belief. Well, okay, let's start examining that. And now let's reverse engineer it. If I have an emotion, it tells me I must have a belief that's generating it. So what would I have to believe is true about the circumstance in order to change this, right? And that begins conscious investigation. And when you begin conscious investigation, you can really trace it back to, okay, what's the story, and this is one of the things I talk about in this forthcoming episode with Dane, is looking. Now you're tracing it back to a conclusion that you've made, right? Whenever I say that word, I instantly think of the jump to conclusion mat in Office. Any of you who've seen Office Space know about the jump to conclusion mat, and it's not something that we want to do if it's not a good conclusion. Essentially, like if you can trace back a fearful thought to an idea or a story or conclusion, and then you can bring the light of truth to that, right? To that conclusion. And that light of truth is, conclusion really snaps something into place, right? And what happens when you make a conclusion? I conclude that I am going to take this job. Well, okay, you've made a decision, and now all other positions are closed off to you. I'm going to enter into this monogamous relationship. Okay, maybe a great thing. And you've closed off all other possibilities. In that moment, you've snapped into, what we can see happens in quantum physics, essentially like the double slit experiment. When consciousness is observing something, it snaps into one place. When it's not, and it's in a state of quantum superposition or possibilities. So what I'm suggesting here is when you get to find the conclusion that is the story that led to the recurring fear in your life, is there any other possibility? Let's superposition it. Let's take it back into the state of possibility instead of snapped into one fixed story, which has particular energetic repercussions, right? So I love this idea of saying, let's superposition it. Let's apply physics and say, what if What if, let's, possibility, questioning. What would it look like if it was a different conclusion, a different story? And this is where that same creative power that got you into trouble, that beautiful imagination got you into trouble, with fear in the first place. You've probably heard the quote, "Fear is a poor use of imagination." Now let's use imagination for something powerful. What about a positive possibility around this story? Maybe I didn't get the job that I wanted because there's something even better. Not, oh my gosh, that was the only chance for a good job I'll ever get. The end is nigh. I'm going to lose my apartment and my house, and I'm going to be poor and live homeless on the street. And, that's a story that you could tell, right? That's something a conclusion you could jump to when you didn't get the great job you worked so hard for. Or let's superposition it. Maybe I didn't get it because it's this or something better. I am so worthy of having more. I am so worthy of all the best that life has to offer. And I was so excited about that job, and I thought for sure I had it in the bag. And the fact that I didn't is really exciting, because if I didn't get that, it's because there's something even better for me than that. Wow. I'm so excited to uncover and find and catch up with the reality of that truth. Now look at the two different ideas and ways of telling a story around the same experience, how energetically different they are. And this taking it out of a fixed, concluded, negative home and putting it into a state of question and wonder and childlike wonder and awe and potential and could be and imagination, that is true power. So yeah, this is the path. Let's go and put everything that's a negative conclusion, and we all have them, these stories that keep us binded in lack and limitation, and let's rewire them. Let's rewrite them. Let's open them up to what if it's this, Yes, I know you think it's impossible, but what would it look like if it wasn't? Right? And once you start talking and thinking and operating in that way, you start dissolving the seed of fear, right? You start dissolving the thing that was planted maybe decades ago, maybe a week ago, maybe an hour ago. But being aware and bringing the light of consciousness to these emotions. Once again, when you see this emotion, energy in motion, and it's moving, oh, hold on, it must be rooted in a story. Well, okay. If life is nothing more than pure potentiality and possibility, then what's another? Let me use this imagination to say, what if it were different? What would it look like? Let's feel into that. Let's start playing with that. Let's open up and just watch what now can unfold as you dissolve the seeds of despair and fear that have plagued us all for so long. And thank them as you let them go for giving you the gift of contrast, so that you can appreciate no longer needing that tool to give you the experience of contrast that your soul desires, right? Even that is a gift. That's my story for today. I'm sticking to it. I hope you got something good out of it. I know I did. I have a song to leave you with. This is Waves, the Edamame remix. Charisma is the artist, Koresma, and Edamame remix of Waves. Until next time, journey well. Love you so, so much.
Waves crash into my soul.